Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live chat. I haven't gone live in a while, but I'm excited to do this more regularly. So I'm happy to be hosting these question and answer sessions. So in my Facebook group, the Academic Society for Grad Students, bunch of grad students in there. Every Monday, I share a post asking if you have any questions about grad school for me. And so in these videos, I'll be answering those questions that have been asked. So if you want to be involved and join the group and ask your own questions to be answered in one of these live videos, definitely join my Facebook group. It's called the Academic Society for Grad Students. There is a link for it in the description of this video. All right, so I'm going to head to my Facebook group and answer the first question. All right, so the first question is how to get your mojo or productivity back on track when you're burnt out or in a lull without going overboard, like how to make it achievable. And this is a great question because this happens every single semester in grad school. You kind of like go into the semester gung-ho, excited, refreshed, ready to get your research done, ready to learn and absorb from these classes. And you go all in for about a month. And then after the first month, you start to really lose that motivation. Maybe you've done a lot of work, so you start to burn out, and it's really hard to get back into the swing of things. So that's kind of like the nature of this question. And so my very first recommendation is probably counterintuitive, but it is to not try to do work. So like actually take a break, take a rest, and completely disconnect from everything that you're working on. It's very hard to do. So one thing to do would be hang out with friends and families. This person is a mother of two who asked me this question. Do something with the kids. Go for a walk. There's someone who's in my focus group, and one of her priorities are like me time things that she does for nourishment is something she calls sunshine walks. So just going out, getting a little sun on your skin, going for a walk, listening to a podcast, or a book not related to your research at all. And it's so funny, like every time I go for a walk, I always have these new ideas that I'm excited to implement on. So take a walk, disconnect, completely disconnect. That's going to be the first step. The next step is to kind of reevaluate your priorities. So maybe the priorities that you've set at the beginning of the semester aren't actually serving you anymore. And maybe there are new things that need to be prioritized in this time and space. So I would say after taking a break, sit down with a piece of paper and think about what are my new priorities to get me through this next stage, and then really figure out, is the thing you've been burnt out on, is it even a priority anymore? So taking the time, making the list, getting clear on the priorities, and then like, how are you going to go through your days? So maybe you've lost some of your habits and some of your hobbies. So I would also say, think about what habits you want to keep up. Do you need to set new times for working? Maybe working at the time of day that you're used to working in is starting to burn you out and you're not feeling productive anymore. What if you switch the time that you're working, or even switch the location? So I'm often working at home at this desk, but sometimes I lose my motivation to do that. And sometimes going to a library or a coffee shop or something is like just the change that I need. And like being in that new location kind of re-engages me and like gets me excited about working again. And then finally, small starts. So maybe thinking about doing the big project is overwhelming and is not motivating, but maybe knowing that the thing that you're going to do is super small and easy to get done can like motivate you to get started. So starting on something very small. So what's your goal and what's the smallest first step that you can take? Just put that on your schedule and see how you feel. All right, so that was a wonderful question from Laura. Thank you so much for that question. Someone added on to this question. So Julie added on, when everyone says the academic job market is trash, so you feel like, why am I doing this then? on top of the regular burnout. I totally get that. Everyone says that, the job market is horrible. It's really hard to get a job in academia. And I would say one thing that helped me kind of like tune out that noise is starting early. So when I started applying for jobs, it was before anyone else. Like literally over the summer, I started making a spreadsheet, made a spreadsheet of all the jobs that I was interested in applying for. And every Friday, I would add more jobs to that spreadsheet. Then I would start to prioritize, maybe based on application deadlines, based on jobs that I'm actually excited about. And then during the semester, so I graduated in the spring of 2016. I started applying for jobs in the fall of 2015. So literally like by the end of September, I had already submitted job applications. And so every Friday, my goal was to submit 3 job applications. So I had a dedicated time somewhere after lunch on Fridays, after I got my work done, I would apply for 3 jobs. And I did that every single week. And I got my first on-campus interview by October. I got my first job offer by early November. And then I got 3 more job offers before December, right? So starting early can be helpful, and it's easier to do. Despite the noise saying that jobs are hard to find, it's easier to do when you're just doing a little bit at a time, and you can only have that type of schedule if you start early. So I hope that was helpful for you, Julie. Okay, Coralie asks, they say, one thing I hadn't considered before actually going to grad school was that grad school that would have been useful to know beforehand is how much freedom should I expect to have about the thesis topic and format? I thought I would have a lot more control, which is why I was excited to write a thesis in the first place. But once I actually started, there were many rules to follow. I got blindsided and felt disappointed that I couldn't carry out the project I had set out to do. Okay, so this is a great question. So one thing to note is every program is different, and it may be completely different in not only in different fields, but between different schools. Like I'm in math, and perhaps a math graduate program at a different school have different like culture around research, right? So some schools and some programs allow their graduate students to choose their own project, and it's up to them to kind of build out their whole research plan with their advisor supporting them. Other programs, which is more like what I experienced, is all the professors were working on their own things, and I chose a professor who was studying a specific topic that I had a bit of interest in, and I kind of joined in on the projects they were already working on. So it is really important to note, this is something that I need to kind of set my expectations around. So maybe if you haven't found an advisor yet, or if you haven't started graduate school yet, one thing that you could do is ask the grad students in the program, or ask the program director, like, what's the expectation around research? Can I come in with my own project and work on that? Or is it more the culture of the department to kind of jump on someone else's project? And one thing that I will say is that grad school is temporary. It doesn't last forever. The project that you're working on now is not going to be the project that you work on in the future. Once you get the PhD, you can research whatever you want. So you'll have the freedom to research other things in the future, right? I really believe that the focus of the PhD program is to kind of teach you a method that you can use for research in the future that you can apply to any other topic that you want in your field. All right. And then Coralie also said, Coralie completed their program last week, so congratulations. They said, I studied in international relations, but to be fair, I also completed my master's in a Korean institution, which might explain why the rules were more rigid. Eventually, I was able to find more flexibility and officially completed my program last week. Congratulations. Okay, so that was the most recent questions asked. Last week, I also got some questions. So someone asked, what are some excellent strategies for working 2 full-time careers at the exact same time? And I will say that is very difficult, and that is not something I've ever done before. I didn't work while I was a graduate student, and I've never had 2 careers. However, I do have my career as a lecturer now at a university, and I run my business at the same time. So I can kind of share my experience from doing that. And in my opinion, I think what will be helpful is to completely silo the two jobs and kind of write down like what are your responsibilities and priorities for each job. And then overall, I think you have to decide which job deserves priority. Like when things get overwhelming and busy, which job are you actually going to attend to and like do the work for over the other? So for me, my academic job takes priority over my business. I'm not going to, not prep for class or not grade my students' work because I want to prioritize my business. So for me, academia comes first. And so I'm prioritizing that. And then with my extra time, I'm working on my business. Like when I have free time, I work on my business. But I also have specific times set aside to work on my business. So the days that I'm not teaching, usually a Tuesday or a Thursday, those are big business days for me. So to summarize, the question was, how do you manage working two full-time jobs at once? I would say to choose which one is a priority, kind of silo them, have a time to work on one versus a time to work on others. And when things get super overwhelming, work on the one that's the priority for you. All right. And if anyone is working two jobs and has better feedback or a better response than me, please share that in the comments. I think that would be super helpful. Okay, so the next question is from Teresa. Teresa asks, why are online programs trying to become exactly like on-campus programs? Working adults cannot have 5 different due dates in one class in 1 week. And I will say this probably depends on the school. Like, I'm not sure if your program is completely online and maybe the whole school is online, or if your part of the program, like the classes you're taking, is online. So I will say at my school, in-person students also have the opportunity to take online classes if they want. So often there are a mix of students who are actually living on campus or living near campus and going to on-campus classes, also in the online classes, along with students who are strictly online. And I would say for the multiple deadlines, I would say create your own deadline. So if you're working a full-time job, you probably only have time to work in the evenings and on weekends. So I would try to optimize the times that you are working. Like even if assignment is due on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I would say see if you can get those assignments done by Saturday or Sunday, right? So creating your own deadlines, no matter when the actual class deadline is. And obviously your deadlines would be ahead of the class deadline. So that way everything's due for you on 1 or 2 days and you just turn it in early. Okay, next question is from Eleanor. Eleanor says, I'm in a mood. So my question is, why are some advisors not only allowed, but enabled to be emotionally abusive to their students? I'm so sick of it. And I just went off on a student survey about it in my program. Yeah, this is very interesting. Oh, hi, Tina. I see that you've joined. I'll answer your question in just a moment. So this is so interesting about the advisor thing. I think different people prioritize different things when it comes to choosing an advisor. And I'm of the mind that choosing an advisor who kind of best fits with how you work is going to be more beneficial than choosing an advisor who has like a big name in the field. Often when people have a big name, they have a big influence in the school because they're bringing in grant money, they're bringing in notoriety. So they can kind of get away with like other things and unfortunately treating their grad students poorly. But grad students are excited to work with them because they want their name known in their field. And so my recommendation for those who have not chosen an advisor yet or who are thinking about choosing a different advisor than the one they already have is interview them. Like when I was choosing an advisor, I reached out to 3 different professors. I went to their office and chatted with them about their research, asked if they were looking for more grad students, asked about like, how will we be working together? Like, will we meet regularly? Can I ask for feedback regularly? Or am I kind of just on my own with like you supporting when you need? And so I was able to choose the person that I thought would be a best fit working with me. Um, and also asking other grad students who have worked with that advisor, how has their experience been, and see if it's something that you can do. So I think I don't really have any advice to like how to like stop an advisor from like mistreating their grad students. I would say we just have to stop working with them. But other people have different priorities. Maybe you're willing to take the like abusive behavior to have like your name out there. But for me, I'm not someone who's kind of like motivated by like external success. I'm motivated by like internal fulfillment. So you have to decide, how are you motivated and what kind of advisor relationship is going to be most fulfilling to you. All right, Tina, thank you for joining me for this live chat. So Tina says, can you give advice about deciding on a PhD program? I have one more year of my master's program and I'm really considering getting my PhD. That is awesome. So number one, I would say, why? What is your why? What is your why for wanting to get a PhD? And then think about how you want to be supported in the PhD program. Do you want your PhD program to be like super heavy focus, like research? All of our grad students are publishing papers, or is it maybe the program is really focused on like communication and getting the work out to the community? Maybe that's a bigger focus. Or maybe you really want to teach and you want a program that kind of gives you room to teach courses as well as do your research and like finish the program. For me, I wanted to choose a school that didn't have like a competitive environment and I wanted something more collaborative. And what I didn't realize is that I wanted a school that was more teaching focused. I just happened to choose one that was more teaching focused, but I did recognize that there was a big community feel in the program that I chose. And I knew that by visiting the school and talking with the current grad students in the program. And what is the other thing that I wanted to say? I think I may have lost my train of thought on that side tangent. So I said, figure out your why, figure out what kind of program you want to attend, figure out what kind of research you want to do, and know that you're not stuck in that decision, right? In my personal statement, when I was applying for grad schools, I wrote down 3 professors who I was interested in working with. And I was like, I like this topic that you're working on, and I would like to research that as well. In the end, I worked with none of these people. I hadn't learned enough to know that I wanted to study something completely different. I learned more in the graduate program. So it is okay if you kind of choose wrong kind of at first. I've spoken with many graduate students who have chosen a program and realized, oh, wow, this is not a good fit for me. And so they switched into a different program. Totally normal, totally acceptable thing to do. I've met with graduate students who have chosen an advisor, worked with them until like maybe year 5, and then decided this is not a good fit for me. I can't do this anymore. And they have switched advisors and they're continuing on with their program. And I will say that everyone that I've spoken with who has chosen a new program or have chosen a different advisor, they are all very happy with their decision. They don't regret it at all. And I would say the thing in common when they choose the new person or the new program is that they really focus on fit. Like, what program is the best fit for me? So really getting specific about how you like to work. And think about that master's program. What aspects of the master's program, Tina, did you enjoy? And like, what kind of things do you want to continue on? And then what aspects were like, not really for me? What kind of things do you want to minimize in the future? So hopefully that was helpful for you. Okay, next question is from Ashley. Ashley is asking, how soon to prep for comprehensive exams? I will start my 2nd year in the fall and the exams are in the 3rd year. So I will preface this by saying everyone's comprehensive / qualifying exams / orals are different. It depends on the field. So I can only kind of speak from what I did in my field. I would definitely ask people in your program a year or 2 ahead of you who've already experienced it when they would recommend starting studying. For me, I had to take 2 qualifying exams in 2 different topics of math in the same summer. So I took the classes the year prior, and then over the summer for about 6 weeks, I studied for them. And then I took the exams, I think, in July or the end of June or something like that. So for me, the studying was just for 6 weeks. For other programs, you have to read a bunch of topics and maybe write papers on those topics. For other programs, you have to do an oral exam. So it's a little different, and the preparation is going to be different in each case. So I would say talk to the people in your specific program who have done it before, so they can tell you exactly how long you need to prepare and when you should start preparing. Okay, Tina says, perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, I can show this. Oh, perfect. I'm new to the StreamYard thing, you guys. Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm in IO psychology. Sorry, I actually don't know what that means. Mathematician here. And my school choices are very limited and spread out around the country. I'm nervous to have to move states with young children. Oh, yeah. And you love the advice. Oh, yeah. Psychology is particularly tricky. I think very few people, not to scare you, get into psychology programs. So I think if I would say prioritize applying for the programs that really uniquely align with your interests, like very specific. And I think that will better your chances in getting in the program. I would also recommend checking out Navigating Academia on YouTube. He's actually a psychology professor, and I know he probably has a little bit more advice. And yeah, moving states with young children, one piece of advice I would say is graduate school, specifically a PhD, typically lasts 5 years. And unlike college, it doesn't really feel like a time out from your life. It actually is your life. So you shouldn't put off milestones. Like if you plan to get married, have kids, you probably don't want to put off your life to experience grad school. So I would say when deciding to choose to move for grad school, think of it as a life decision. Like what makes sense for your family. Oh, you said industrial organization psychology. Of course. Okay, so I have another question. How do you know you're ready for a PhD? I think it depends on your goals. I don't know if one is, ready versus not ready. So everyone in your PhD program is going to come from a different background. There are going to be people who already have a master's degree, like Tina. There are going to be people who went straight to a PhD program from undergrad, like me. I didn't work first. I didn't get a master's first. I went straight from undergrad to a PhD program. There are going to be people who have experienced undergraduate research. So they have done research before. So doing research in the field will not necessarily be new to them. There are going to be people who worked in the field before going back to grad school. So they're going to kind of know some of the terminology and how the learnings would actually be used in the field. And there are going to be some people who went to a very prestigious undergrad. So it kind of feels like their background is a little stronger. And that is very intimidating. And it can feel like, oh my gosh, everybody here is more prepared than me. And that's not the case. Everyone struggles in grad school, and everyone experiences imposter syndrome. And it's not that anyone's background is stronger than the other person's. It's not that anyone is more ready for grad school than the other people. It's just that everyone's background is different. So everyone is going to have a different advantage, right? The people who went to work and worked in the field, they have a clear advantage because they know the content, but they're also feeling a little imposter syndrome from the people who went straight from undergrad to a PhD, because they're like, these people have been in school their whole lives. They got this school thing. I'm trying to readjust. I'm having to navigate not having a salary anymore. So there's other advantages and disadvantages depending on the background, but no one is going, oh, thank you, David. No one is more prepared than the other person. So how do you know when you're ready? I think when you're ready to achieve your goal. If the career you want requires a PhD, then if you're ready to get to that career, then you're ready for the PhD. If you are just so passionate about a topic and you want to continue learning about that topic forever, I'd say you're ready for a PhD. PhD is really a test in endurance. Can you just keep going? It's not necessarily are my grades going to be good? Grades don't typically matter that much in grad school. It's more are you ready to learn this material? So if you're ready to learn, I would say that you're ready for a PhD. All right, let me pop back in my Facebook group. I think that was the last question, you guys. All right. Does anyone have any final questions before we go? This was really fun. I enjoyed doing this. More off the cuff video. Thank you, Tina and David, for joining me live and answering your questions. Oh, you're so welcome, David. All right, I'll give like one more minute and then I will end things. I will also say, going back to like the getting your mojo and your motivation back, I have a resource called the afternoon reset. So like if you kind of feel like after lunch, you're just feeling like not motivated anymore, check out my afternoon resource, my afternoon reset resource. It kind of gives you ideas of things to do to reset your day, to get your motivation and productivity back. So you can find it at theacademicsociety.com/reset. I'll add it to the description of this video. And if there are no further questions, thank you so much. Thanks, Tina. Have a wonderful day as well, and best wishes in your application season. And David, best wishes on deciding whether or not to do a PhD. All right, bye, you guys.